let's go ahead and get started with movie 1, Dragon Ball Z: The Dead Zone. Now, it's crazy because as I was looking up photos for this, I realized that like we forget like how long it took for Japanese movies to come to America. And this movie came out the year I was born. So I'm like, yo, I'm sitting here rewatching a movie that is 35 years old and it looks beautiful.
Crazy.
I'm like, yo, you want to talk about the power of animation? I'm like, this movie looks beautiful. But basically the plot is it takes place early Dragon Ball Z. I'm talking about pre Saiyan invasion. So this is before Vegeta and Nappa. This is before Goku even dies fighting Raditz. And the plot synopsis essentially is Garlic Jr., who we assume is a demon. Right? It's never really specifically said. We assume it's a demon. Is coming to get revenge on Kami on behalf of his father. And him and his henchmen go looking for the Dragon Balls. They're able to find all of them through unknown means. They kidnap Gohan, right? And basically attack Chi-Chi and Ox King. Goku goes on a journey to rescue Gohan. Piccolo shows up. Krillin shows up. Kami shows up. Garlic Jr. gets his wish. He's one of 2 Dragon Ball villains to actually achieve immortality. And then goes on a, typical Kung Fu action, and they're able to banish him to the dead zone that he creates with the help of Gohan. Now, fellas, what was your thoughts about the plot, first of all? Like, what do you guys think about the premise of this story?
Overall, it was a very straightforward damsel in distress type of situation, which you gotta understand, because that's literally like, this was literally the bridge between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Mm-hmm. So this is technically the beginning of Dragon Ball Z here.
Yes.
When you really look at it. So like, especially if you never really watched like Dragon Ball, there's just certain things that are flying over your head, like the relationship between Goku and Piccolo. Mm-hmm. It's like, yes, like, I'm still trying to kill you, fam.
Actively.
I'm still trying to actively kill you because you killed my father. Mm-hmm. And then even the relationship with Kami, like, you got some hints about Kami's past, and like, but was this the past when him and Piccolo were one? Or was this when he ascended to become the guardian of the earth? You don't know. But the fact of the matter is, I did enjoy to get more about Kami's past. Mm-hmm. And, yes, it was very interesting to see a villain like, well, he's already wished for immortality, so what can you really do? Yeah. But then, of course, as Kisuke Urahara said, like, well, I can't kill you. The most I can do is seal you. Mm-hmm. And then that's exactly what happened. It was logical sense. He sealed himself by accident.
Yeah.
The plot was great, man. I give the plot like a genuine 8 out of 10. Okay. And I do that because of, the story premises is a very pinnacle moment. It doesn't add too much that alters anything out of the way to make it say like, oh, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't stick. This doesn't line up. Like, it's perfectly in alignment. Mm-hmm. Bro, we've gotten some of the best fighting choreography from this era. It's like, bro, like this was an era where it was still about hands and technique with a beam every once in a while. Like the fact that Goku was still using his power pole and his techniques, bro. It was like, yes, this all makes sense. And then you know what I really appreciate, bro? No color palettes.
True.
None.
This is pre-Kaioken even. So there's no transformations really outside of Garlic Jr. and his people. Like no one is powering up to do anything. It's just
it's either you get bulky or you get fast, and that's it.
Yeah. And Esfrant, what do you think about the plot before we deep dive into everything else?
Oh, the plot was. I think the plots like simple plots like that make Dragon Ball Z better. I think people gotta like just play to your strengths. Simple plots like that make Dragon Ball Z better because the characters are already colorful. So you have like the perfect recipe almost. Like you look at look at the John Wick series. At the first one was a simple story, and it turned into what it is. Those things work for those type of films, for those type of stories, action adventure. So I thought the plot was fine. The villain actually won, got his wish. You know, so
Mm.
this is for me as a kid seeing that. Whew, get the defibrillators, man, because I was losing. I said, what is Goku gonna do? That's
Yeah.
it.
Even
It's
if you win, you
over.
can't win.
I
Yeah.
turned to I turned to Vegeta, man. Vegeta seeing Broly, dog. It was a wrap. But
Mm.
yeah. As far as plot, perfect plot. And you know me. You know, I got the Sharingan when it comes to animation. So, that was the most refreshing drops of Visine you could ever get, man. The
Mm-hmm.
villains they weren't cheap. The fact that Goku had to use his power pole and that the dudes, that's one of my favorite scenes, man. I remember watching, you know how Toonami would show,
The little
um,
clip intros
yeah,
and
and you
yeah.
just didn't know where this clip was from because I never saw it in Dragon Ball Z, and so I
Mm.
finally see Dead Zone and I get my reward because that choreography where Goku had to dodge the blades when those two henchmen summoned the swords out of their thighs that were
Yeah.
made out of their bone. I was like, this is. I've never seen anything like that before. Those were very interesting villains.
Mm-hmm.
Their designs weren't the best, but like they
They're pretty
had,
simple. Yeah, but
yeah, but it was still great. I
mm.
You
think
know what
the
I
gar
even enjoyed about them? I enjoyed their names, Ginger, Nikki, and Sancho.
Yeah.
Like it was very lighthearted. So apparently I did some research. You know, Garlic Jr.'s race is called the Makian. Like you know how the Makio star. So apparently, whatever a Makian is, that's what they are.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. Like, I don't think he'd be a demon. Because I just assume that because like during the movie, like he's like when he opens the dead zone, he was like, all these people come and raise hell. Da, da, da. So I'm like, is he? What is he?
English translation,
You're
bro.
probably right.
That's what
Yeah.
that is.
But
Pure
then some of
English
it,
translation.
but some of it's not, right? So like even to Tim's point about the henchmen's names, it's like apparently like that's actually some of their names in Japanese. Like them screaming out like gingerbread and da da. It's like that's really what they said in Japanese.
Yeah,
Like, you know
that's
how
fine.
everyone had like the naming convention of like garlic and ginger and
Yeah.
spice and da 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 da. But yeah, that's what you were saying about this overall story.
Yeah, the overall story was perfect. I think
Mm.
the choreography, man, was refreshing. Those were some of the best fights and best finishes that weren't cheap. They were earned.
Yeah, it
Earned
didn't. Yeah,
finishes.
true.
I
Because
think
some of
for
the movies
me, an
later
earned.
on, it's like
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Well, all right. That
Yeah.
happened, but it was an earned finish. Krillin was useful.
Mm.
Krillin was useful in the movie. Master Roshi, you feel me? He was, I don't know if he was in this movie. I
Nah,
don't
he
think
was
he
in the
was.
No,
first
he
one.
wasn't.
Okay, he wasn't in this one. But I'm getting it mixed up. But yeah, man, they were like useful. Goku using the pole, the Destructo this being a problem as like a problem. You're like, yo, Krillin, I don't think you need no other technique. This
Krillin
is it.
didn't really do much in this movie, bro. He was the glorified babysitter in the comedy relief. He didn't fight.
Oh, that's the other movie. I'm mixing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you skip on the head. Yeah.
Okay, I'm skipping ahead. But okay, Piccolo,
Mm.
Goku team up was dope. How they beat Garlic Jr. The stakes were high. The stakes were extremely high.
Mm.
And I felt the pressure. Like, yo, y'all boys, y'all gotta defeat this man in the Yeezys real quick.
Mm.
You feel me? The Yeezy foam posits on his feet. Y'all gotta defeat him real quick, dog. Yeah, that was it, man. I think the choreography, hand-to-hand combat. It had Dragon Ball Z never lost that, I feel like they would have been top tier, and Naruto
Yeah.
would have never taken their spot for choreography.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for me, I'm with Tim. I think the plot overall is like an 8 out of 10. Like, there's a couple of small things I'm like, this is a little weird. Like the whole little subplot with them like kidnapping Gohan, it didn't really make sense. Like, why don't you just take the Dragon Ball off his hat? Like, you don't have to take Gohan with you. And then it's just like, oh yeah, like now Garlic Jr. wants to take him as a potential future henchman. It's like, but why? Why this child out of everybody?
But
You know, like that was a little weird to me. But
I think
I
I
know
can
like a
answer
lot of
that.
these movies were influenced by like this series, so it was very reminiscent of Raditz taking Gohan. Sorry, you gonna say?
Yeah, I think well their names are already Ginger and Spice and Garlic Junior, so like something whimsical like that happening for me wouldn't be a stretch. Like I don't know if they were intending for that to be a comical part. Like, hey, you know what? You'll be my henchman.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
intended as
that's
comedy because there's that whole thing where like Gohan eats the apple that apparently is full of alcohol, and he's like running around the halls drunk, which is just like, again, this is just so random.
It just didn't translate to different audiences. It probably was hilarious in Japan, but
right, like
over
here's this
here we looked at it
4-year-old
like,
who's eating a drunken apple, who's hallucinating about dinosaurs, like while running around a capsule.
I think the reason why they took Gohan was because when you look at it, remember I said it goes back to it being the bridge. After the world tournament, who were the strongest fighters? It was Goku and it was Piccolo. So if you're using a plot to attack Kami, which Piccolo is going to get involved by default.
You remember they jumped him at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and then
they jumped Piccolo.
and of course, one of the Dragon Balls is in Goku's family's possession. So it's kind of like, yes, anything with the Dragon Balls, Goku's going to get involved anyway. So I think taking Gohan as a hostage was supposed to be some form of collateral. I guess that's my adult mind thinking about it now. But it was straightforward, man, and it was like you could tell like a lot of this stuff was like subtle hints about what would go on in the anime, because now you find out that this kid has some hidden potential.
Yeah, that surpasses everybody.
And of course, you saw it again when he head-butted Raditz.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual villains of this movie. We spoke about it a little bit in our like plot synopsis, but we have Garlic Jr., his 3 henchmen. As Frank mentioned it earlier about like they play a huge part in the choreography. It's not one of those things where because it's such a limited cast of heroes, it's like it's not weird to see Goku and Piccolo kind of take them out first before fighting Garlic Jr. But what do you guys think about like Garlic Jr. being the villain, the way he's presented, his motivation? Just tell me what you guys think about like just the characters overall.
He was definitely like a spoiled brat, that you could tell he inherited something, but he's not, I would say, coherent enough. Like he's just blinded by rage and power. Like, and then of course, he has some underlings. The underlings were very, very good with me. Like the fact that, bro, like they had very weapon-based combat. Like everything was not like, yes, they had beams, but that's like more of a last resort. Like when they came at Goku on both ends, it's like, yes, bro, Goku had to dodge that, bro. There's no Super Saiyan Trunks that he blocks the sword. Like, no, Goku, your head could have got taken off, bro. Your head could have got taken off, bro. So you had to be so like calculate your movements and know when to. All right, you have to understand that this is not a tournament, and that's where I also understood Goku's adult mind. Like, no, this is not a tournament. These are dudes who are going to kill me. So when I get the chance, I need to take them out. Yeah. So, and then he did. The moment when he had that one dude in the rubble, he's like, man, and they just took him out because they understand the stakes, and that's why I kind of felt like DBZ kind of lost. It's like, what happened to Goku who understood the stakes? Like, when did things become like, oh, you can change? I know you can change. Like, no.
Yeah, this man is beyond reforming. You gotta kill him. There's no other way. Yeah. No, I agree. For me, I feel like with the villains, like I think after rewatching it recently, I was like, I can see why they decided to bring back Garlic Jr. for that filler arc in the main timeline. I'm like, this is the template here. Like it's a template for a good idea. Right? He's an original character. He doesn't really copy off anybody. Like I can't think of any other DBZ movie villain that like or DBZ villain period that like he resembles in any way. He's very original. And I feel like just the fact that like you guys both said, like the weapons based combat, the fact that like Garlic Jr. really plays off the fact of like, don't judge by appearances or things are bigger than they may seem type thing. Like I really like that that difference that he gains when he like essentially goes Hulk. Right, like goes Hulk and like it just becomes an immovable object. Even the fact that him and Kami were throwing hands, it's like, bro, when's the last time you saw Kami do anything in any of these these franchises since Dragon Ball? So I think like they fit in a way that just feels very organic to the movie. Like it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, it's a perfect marriage of setting and villain and like motivation and just even technique. Like he doesn't do much, but like to your point, S rank of like, yo, he's already gotten immortality. What can you do? Like even when they team up to beat him, take off the weighted clothes and all that stuff, it's like he gets right back up because he can't die. It's just like, man, like it was good. I 10 out of 10. Like no complaints in terms of like Garlic Jr. Ezra, you have any thoughts on the villains overall? Or
yeah, he was the emperor. He was what I thought Emperor Pilaf should have been. You know what I'm saying? Like Garlic Jr. I thought that was Emperor Pilaf. My child mind, but they turned out to be completely different people. Yeah, I thought that's what Emperor Pilaf should have been. He should have went from the whimsical, okay, I'm not taking you guys serious, to, yeah, I finally got what I wanted. And to me, that's what I was expecting, but I found out they were completely different people. Yeah. So in my mind, I'm thinking they're the same guy. I'm like, yo, he changed, man. That's great storytelling. But no, that's not what happened. But I think Garlic Jr. is he brings an interesting dynamic to Dragon Ball Z. Because when you looked at the filler, those were some of the interesting concepts and villains. I mean, so I know a lot of people didn't like that filler. I didn't mind it. The one filler where Vegeta was actually the hero.
A lot of the execution for it was just always the problem. Like I said, the ideas were good, right? The black water mist thing where everyone's like corrupted. I'm like, this is a good idea.
Very good.
Yeah, everything else about it was not the greatest, but it's just like in principle, it works.
Yeah, so I think with Garlic Jr. is probably the top one. He's top 5 DBZ villains from the movie series easily. There's no discussion. Even his henchman is up there. So a lot of good concepts that I kind of hope they pull from if in the future. And that's all they had to do to kind of rescue Dragon Ball Z in the state that it's in. But we've come up with plots that were interesting. We're like, oh, that didn't make sense. But he's
definitely a villain I would love to see become canon.
Even the setting, I was like, bro, where is this demonic looking castle in their world? Like, because like one thing about Dragon Ball, I would definitely give them this. Dragon Ball, they visited a lot of very unique environments, bro. Like when they fought that little mafia guy, Monster Carrot, I think that was his name. Yeah. It's like, bro, where are they? Even when they met Yamcha in the wasteland, like all these areas that they met, I kind of felt like when they got deep into Dragon Ball Z, it was always Goku's house, some either West City, East City, the islands, the Arctic, and that's it. In the Rocky region.
Yeah, some bear.
And it's like, bro, come on. It's like, so we're just like all these environments just got so generic, bro. Like, and that's why I really enjoyed it. It's like, bro, they are literally like in some Devil May Cry looking castle, having a fight.
Dragon Ball Z style Devil May Cry castle. Yeah, perfect, beautiful. Looked exactly like Toriyama drew it.
Yeah, and then in terms of like the utilization of Goku, Gohan, Piccolo, and even Krillin, how did you guys feel like their roles fit for this movie, or it didn't fit?
You can tell Gohan, like I said, damsel in distress. Krillin is always that one friend who just shows up because like he was still passionate about the action at that point. And then but the main characters was Goku and Piccolo, because when you really understand how that tournament ended, it's like it makes sense that it's just focus about them, and it was kind of like preluding to what the major first arc of the anime was about. Yeah, it was a battle to the death versus Goku's family, and they were the main characters.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think like again, outside of the whole kidnap and go on thing, I think the thing that pulls them all together makes perfect sense. Like it's not one of those things where it's like this person just shows up out of nowhere, as we start to see in future movies down the road, where it's like, why would they have not been here from like immediately, right? It's like everything in this is like, okay, like you said, like it makes sense why Krillin would show up for this. It makes sense that like Piccolo would want his lick back, after getting jumped in the beginning of the movie, and also protecting Kami's in his best interest, right? So like it makes sense for them to like show up for this like common thing. And yeah, again, like it's one of those movies where like every time I watch it, I was like, I can't believe that things actually to some degree get worse from here because it's so like well put together. Like I have very minimal complaints about the movie.
We gotta look at who put that movie together, man.
For sure. Yeah. And the thing is, like, that's crazy. Is like, to Tim's point earlier, it's like, when you're a kid, like, yes, you're like wowed by the idea of Super Saiyan and transformations and things like that. But like as an adult, or like as you get older and you appreciate choreography, right? It's just like I didn't even need all the razzle dazzle to be like, this is just a well put kung fu movie that just happens to have blasts every now and then. Like it just you, like you said, you can put it on for your kids and be like, look, just enjoy peak cinema. That still looks beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah. So final rating for Dead Zone out of 10. What are we giving it?
I give it an 8.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. Okay. 8 out of 10.
It's a 9 out of 10 for me. It's probably in my top 5 of the original Dragon Ball Z movies, towards the top. I don't think there's much wrong with it. I think it excels in a lot of ways. Oh, that was my other question. Is there anything you guys would have changed or would have liked to have seen in the movie that wasn't present?
To be honest, not really, because when I thought about it, I was thinking about like Yamcha and Tien, like where was their presence in it. But then when I really look at it, bro, like the amount of villains that, like, yes, you had Garlic Jr. and there's 3 henchmen. I was like, yeah, you know what? To be honest, I did like the fact that it was mostly a Piccolo and Goku type of showdown, because it's like you don't want to bring too much clutter, I would say.
Right.
Bring too much clutter, and it kind of reflected over into the next movie as well. Because to be honest, when you really look at it, it was the same amount of villains and one big boss. Technically, it wasn't until like the Tree of Might where there was enough characters on screen that everybody could just get involved.
Yeah. Okay. So no real change. That's right. Any changes you would have made to the Dead Zone movie?
Yeah, but
actually, sorry to cut you off, bro. I would say this. I wanted more backstory about Kami and Garlic's father. I want to know what was the real basis of their battle and what actually happened to him, and to really give more like fuel behind Garlic Jr.'s ambitions. I felt like we should have gained more of that story. Even when he came in the filler, it's like it was just, oh, I'm here for my revenge. And 5 episodes later, he's still laughing.
He's right back. Yeah. My birthright. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
For me, I think Garlic Jr. should have had a weapon. I would have liked the consistency of weaponry. You know what I'm saying? Okay, because I saw what these guys could do. I was expecting, what if Garlic Jr. weapon looked crazy versus just turning into, the Namok, Namek Hulk, or whatever homie is. Yeah, because it didn't even get to. He wasn't even using. He was just, you know what I'm saying? Like he just trucking people. So it wasn't even. It wasn't even And then Garlic Jr. seems to be a very logical. I wanted to see some of his mind. You know what I'm saying? He seems spoiled, but he seems to have a little ability of technique. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess to Tim's point, like I think that is a flaw in terms of like we don't really know what fueled him. I mean, we know that he was like smart enough to be the point, like where like Connery's about to kill himself. He's like, if you can blow yourself up if you want, I'm already immortal. So this changes nothing.
To be honest, like Garlic Jr. really reminds me of a lot of like. Remember when they did the Dragon Ball Super movie when Frieza came to planet Vegeta. It's been hinted at many times that, especially since aliens age differently, that Frieza is technically probably a child or a teenager in his race. So, cause like you could tell, like by how his mannerism, especially like when they got deeper into Cooler's dialogue, you started to see like, yes, he might actually be a child or a teenager. Because Cooler used to say like, "Oh, you little spoiled brat." like you don't even know what you're doing. Like you leave too much room for error type of things, and like he's thinking like a child who has so much power at his fingertips. Even when he came back as Golden Frieza, he hated the fact of Goku. You made me train for this. I don't need to train. I supposed to be naturally supposed to be the strongest. Like literally throwing a tantrum in his own way. So like, and that's what I kind of felt like from Garlic Jr. Like Garlic Jr. Whatever the Makian is, he's probably a child in his race. Like he's short because he's a child. He's short because he's a child, and of course, for transformation perks, especially back in that day, we just made things bigger. Here's the Hulk.
Yeah,
have a good time.
Yeah, because I and then a lot of thing is I thought he was a dark Namek. To be honest with you, that's another thing I forgot to say. I thought because him and Kami, I thought that was like a dark race of Namekians. You know what I'm saying? So because the way they don't look that far off, and if the fact that him and Kami, the silhouette of his father looks just like he dresses almost like a Namekian.
Yeah, it was the silhouette.
It was the silhouette. Yes. So I'm thinking, okay, where's this? That's really what I thought it was. They were just like more vicious, form of Namekians and whatnot. But that was never expounded on or even mentioned. So. That's I would have probably made that obvious. Like I would have probably made it like, oh, okay, they're dark Namekians. They're evil Namekians, and they feud because of this and and that's why they fought.
Oh, I just remember the reason why Kami and Garlic Senior fought was it was to be for the throne of the Guardian of the Earth.
Yeah, to beat Kami.
They were the two people, and I guess it was a battle to the death.
So then he has to be a Namek, right?
No, it wasn't about. It wasn't about to the death. It when he's recapping his father's story, the previous guardian chooses Kami. The father tries to kill them both, and then he's banished and dies. They didn't fight over the godhood. Kami was chosen. Yeah, hey. and then in his revolt, he was killed.
Oh, so he tried to be Yojiro.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's a fair critique of, like, I do think they could have done a little bit more to expound Garlic Jr.'s character. Granted, again, this is 1989 Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball we haven't started getting death in Dragon Ball until, like, recently. So, it's one of those things where I'm like, but it is a fair critique of, like, we could have probably gotten a little bit more of, like, what fuels him as a person besides, like, I want revenge for my dad, and this earth is rightfully my birthright because my dad should have been picked. But to me, I mean, again, like, I'm biased in the sense of, like, this is one of my favorite Dragon Ball movies. So
no, you're not wrong, man.
There's not much I have to personally critique other than you could have left Gohan right where he was and just dipped. And Goku just goes after them anyway because you beat up his father-in-law and his wife. He comes back and they're crumpled on the floor. I'm like, that's enough motivation. If I pull up and my family's beat up on the lawn, I'm
to be honest, that is true because it could have probably opened up a more opportunity for Goku and Piccolo to enemies technically at that era to come up with an attack to defeat him, to seal him in some way. And then, to be honest, that could have even expanded on more of a Piccolo's, Namekian magic.
Because we know he knows the Mafuba, the little ceiling wave attack that was used on his dad. Like, so it's not like they needed Gohan to win, technically.
Yeah.
Calling Master Roshi for a favor. Hey, can you do your little hand wave and put him in the rice cooker?
I mean, but technically that comes at the cost of your life.
That's true.
But
you're right.
It got technically retconned.
Like everything else. Come on now. Like I said, Tim, we didn't start getting death till like 2015, bro. Everything else was just like it just works. And then it was just like, oh, here's all this lore and the Grand Kai tree and like, but yeah. So Dead Zone.